It started like any other day at school, but for Mia, every day felt heavier than the last. Mia was a bright, talented black girl with dreams as big as the sky, but in Miss Harper's classroom, those dreams felt impossibly out of reach. Miss Harper, a stern and unforgiving teacher, seemed to have a particular dislike for Mia. From snide remarks about her handwriting to unfair punishments for things she didn't do, it was clear to everyone that Mia was being singled out. But why? What had Mia done to deserve such treatment? Mia's best friend Zoe couldn't stand it. Every time Miss Harper humiliated Mia in front of the class, Zoe's anger bubbled beneath the surface. She wanted to speak up, but the fear of retaliation kept her silent. That all changed one fateful afternoon when something happened that crossed the line. It was so cruel, so unjust, that Zoe knew she couldn't stay quiet anymore. With trembling hands, she made a decision that would change everything. A secret call to 911. What happened next would uncover a shocking truth that no one could have imagined. But as Zoe waited, her mind raced with worry. Would anyone believe her? Would this call even make a difference? And what would happen to Mia if it didn't? Stay tuned, because this is a story of courage, friendship, and the fight for justice. As the pieces of this gripping tale come together, you'll see how one brave act can shine a light on the darkest of situations. But beware, things are not always as they seem, and the truth behind Miss Harper's actions will leave you speechless. What Zoe didn't know was that her decision would not just impact Mia, but the entire school, and maybe even change lives forever. What was Miss Harper hiding? And why did Mia become her target? You'll have to watch to find out. Zoe couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had been growing for weeks. Mia was no troublemaker. She was one of the kindest, most hard-working people Zoe knew. But somehow, Miss Harper had made it her mission to crush Mia's spirit. It wasn't just the sarcastic comments or the way she ignored Mia's raised hand during lessons. It was the way she seemed to take satisfaction in making Mia feel small, as if her confidence was something to be punished. At first, Mia tried to brush it off. Maybe she's just having a bad day, she'd tell Zoe after class. But as the days turned into weeks, it became clear that this wasn't just a bad day, it was personal. Miss Harper's behavior grew harsher, and soon even the other students started to notice. Whispers filled the classroom when Miss Harper would snap at Mia over the smallest mistakes. Some kids looked away, not wanting to get involved, while others just shook their heads, unsure of what to do. But Zoe wasn't like the others. She couldn't stand to see Mia's light dimmed, and she couldn't understand why Miss Harper was targeting her. What had Mia done to deserve this? Zoe thought back to the beginning of the school year, wondering if she'd missed some clue. Miss Harper had always been strict, but this felt different, almost like she had something against Mia, something deeper than anyone could see. One day, as Zoe sat in class, she caught a strange look on Miss Harper's face, a mix of anger and fear. It was fleeting, but it was enough to make Zoe think there was more to this story. Was Miss Harper hiding something? And if so, why take it out on Mia? That's when Zoe began to suspect that Mia's torment wasn't just about her schoolwork or behavior. Something else was going on, something bigger. And as Zoe's suspicions grew, so did her determination to find the truth. But how far would she have to go to uncover it? And what would happen when she did? As the days passed, Zoe couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. Every time she saw Miss Harper glare at Mia or heard her cold, biting remarks, Zoe's frustration grew. It wasn't just unfair, it was cruel. The worst part was how Mia had started to change. She didn't raise her hand in class anymore. She barely spoke during lunch, and the sparkle in her eyes that Zoe loved so much was fading. Zoe decided she couldn't just stand by any longer. During recess one day, she pulled Mia aside. "We have to do something," she said, her voice firm. But Mia just shook her head. "What can we do, Zoe? It's her word against mine. Who's going to believe me over a teacher?" Mia's voice cracked, and Zoe could see how tired she was. Tired of fighting, tired of being ignored, tired of everything. But Zoe wasn't giving up. She started paying closer attention in class, trying to catch any clues about why Miss Harper was acting this way. That's when she noticed something strange. Miss Harper always seemed tense around Mia, but it wasn't just anger. There was something else, almost like guilt. It didn't make sense, but Zoe couldn't ignore it. Then, one afternoon, something happened that sent Zoe's suspicions into overdrive. As Mia walked up to the front of the class to hand in her homework, Miss Harper accidentally knocked a folder off her desk. Papers scattered everywhere, and as Mia bent down to help pick them up, her hand froze midair. Zoe saw it too, an old faded photograph lying among the papers. It showed a young girl who looked eerily like Mia. Before anyone could say a word, Miss Harper snatched the photo away, her face pale and eyes wide with panic. Zoe's heart raced. What was going on? Why would Miss Harper have a photo of someone who looked like Mia? The questions buzzed in her mind, louder than ever. But the one thing she knew for sure was that the pieces of this puzzle were starting to come together, and the picture they were forming was darker than she'd imagined. Zoe couldn't stop thinking about the photo. Why did it look so much like Mia? And why had Miss Harper reacted with such panic? That evening, Zoe tried to talk to Mia about it, but Mia only shrugged, brushing it off as a coincidence. Maybe it's nothing, Mia said softly, though her voice betrayed the doubt she was trying to hide. But Zoe couldn't let it go. She had a gut feeling this photo was a clue to something much bigger, and she wasn't about to let it slip through her fingers. The next day at school, Zoe decided to dig deeper. During lunch, she slipped away and headed to the staff lounge. She knew it was risky. If anyone caught her snooping, she could get in serious trouble. But she had to know the truth. Peeking inside, she spotted Miss Harper's desk in the corner. Her heart pounding, Zoe crept in and began rifling through the papers stacked on top. That's when she found it. Another photograph, slightly torn at the edges, showing a younger Miss Harper standing beside a little girl who looked just like Mia. Zoe's breath caught. Who was this girl? And what connection did she have to Miss Harper? Before she could process what she was seeing, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. Zoe barely had time to slip the photo back before the door creaked open, and Miss Harper walked in. Zoe froze, her heart hammering in her chest as Miss Harper's eyes locked onto her. "What are you doing here?" Miss Harper demanded, her voice sharp. Zoe stammered an excuse about looking for a teacher, but the suspicion in Miss Harper's eyes didn't waver. For a moment, Zoe thought she might actually confront her, but instead, Miss Harper turned and stormed out, muttering under her breath. Zoe rushed back to Mia, her mind racing. She had more questions than answers, but one thing was clear. Miss Harper was hiding something big, and whatever it was, it involved Mia in ways they couldn't yet understand. As Zoe and Mia whispered about what to do next, none of them noticed the shadow lingering just outside the door, listening to every word. Zoe's mind was spinning. The photo, Miss Harper's reaction, the strange tension, none of it added up. She and Mia spent the rest of the day whispering in the back of the classroom, trying to piece things together. Mia admitted she'd always felt a strange sense of familiarity about Miss Harper, but had never been able to explain it. "It's like she knows me," Mia said quietly, her voice trembling. "But I don't understand how." Later that evening, as Zoe replayed everything in her mind, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from an unknown number. She hesitated before opening it, and when she did, her blood ran cold. The message was a single sentence. Asterisk, stay out of it if you know what's good for you. Asterisk attached was a picture of her and Mia talking outside the classroom earlier that day. Zoe's hands shook as she stared at the screen. Who could have sent this? And why were they watching her? She called Mia immediately, and the two of them decided to meet the next morning before school to figure out their next move. They couldn't let fear stop them now, not when they were so close to uncovering the truth ration grew. It wasn't just unfair, it was cruel. The worst part was how Mia had started to change. She didn't raise her hand in class anymore. She barely spoke during lunch, and the sparkle in her eyes that Zoe loved so much was fading. Zoe decided she couldn't just stand by any longer. During recess one day, she pulled Mia aside. "We have to do something," she said, her voice firm. But Mia just shook her head. "What can we do, Zoe? It's her word against mine. Who's going to believe me over a teacher?" Mia's voice cracked, and Zoe could see how tired she was. Tired of fighting, tired of being ignored, tired of everything. But Zoe wasn't giving up. She started paying closer attention in class, trying to catch any clues about why Miss Harper was acting this way. That's when she noticed something strange. Miss Harper always seemed tense around Mia, but it wasn't just anger. There was something else, almost like guilt. It didn't make sense, but Zoe couldn't ignore it. The next day, Zoe arrived at school early and waited for Mia by their usual spot. But Mia didn't show up. As the minutes ticked by, Zoe's anxiety grew. She called Mia's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic set in. Mia was never late. Something was wrong. Zoe decided to check the school office, hoping to find some answers. As she approached, she overheard Miss Harper speaking in a hushed, urgent tone. Peeking through the slightly open door, she caught fragments of the conversation. Too risky now. She's starting to ask questions. "No, I won't let it go any further." Zoe's heart pounded as she backed away quietly. What was Miss Harper talking about? And where was Mia? The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but the picture they revealed was more terrifying than Zoe had imagined. Something was happening behind the scenes, something dangerous, and Mia was at the center of it all. Zoe couldn't waste another second. With Mia missing and Miss Harper acting suspicious, she knew she had to act fast. She ran through the school halls, her heart racing, trying to think of where Mia could be. Then it hit her, the storage room near the back of the school. It was rarely used, and Miss Harper had been spotted there before. Zoe sprinted toward it, every nerve in her body screaming that she was running out of time. When she reached the door, she hesitated. The dim hallway was eerily quiet, and the air felt heavy. Gathering her courage, she pushed the door open. Inside, she found Mia sitting on a chair, her hands shaking but otherwise unharmed. Miss Harper stood nearby, her back turned, frantically flipping through an old folder. When she heard the door creak, she spun around, her face a mix of shock and desperation. "You shouldn't be here," Miss Harper snapped, her voice unsteady. "You don't understand what's going on." So didn't back down. "Then explain it to us. Why are you doing this to Mia? What are you hiding?" Her voice trembled, but she kept her gaze locked on Miss Harper. Miss Harper sighed, her shoulders slumping. She reached into the folder and pulled out the photo Zoe had seen earlier, the one with the young girl who resembled Mia. "This girl," Miss Harper said softly, "was my daughter." The words hung in the air, heavy with pain. Zoe and Mia exchanged stunned glances. "Your daughter," Mia whispered. "What does that have to do with me?" Miss Harper's eyes filled with tears. "My daughter disappeared years ago. When I saw you on the first day of school, Mia, I thought you might be her. But you're not. You just look so much like her." Her voice cracked. "And every time I look at you, I'm reminded of everything I lost." Zoe felt a mix of anger and sadness. "So you took it out on Mia. That's not fair. You hurt her for something that wasn't her fault." Miss Harper wiped her eyes and nodded. "I know. I let my grief cloud my judgment, and I'm so sorry." She turned to Mia. "You didn't deserve any of it." As the tension eased, a sudden sound broke the moment, a phone buzzing on the desk. Zoe glanced at it and froze. The unknown number had sent another message. Asterisk, "You're getting too close. Leave it alone." Asterisk, it wasn't Miss Harper who had sent the threats. Someone else was still watching, and the real danger was far from over. The room fell silent as the phone buzzed again, the unknown number's chilling message lingering in the air. Zoe grabbed the phone and showed it to Miss Harper and Mia. "If it's not you sending these messages, then who is it?" Zoe demanded, her voice sharp with urgency. Miss Harper's face paled as she studied the text. "I don't know," she said, shaking her head. "But whoever it is, they're trying to scare you. This is bigger than me or my mistakes." Zoe felt a surge of determination. "We need to report this," she said. "Mia, you don't deserve to be dragged through this anymore. We have to tell someone who can help." Mia nodded, her voice steady despite everything. "Let's go to the principal. Now." The three of them made their way to the office, their footsteps echoing through the quiet halls. The principal listened intently as they explained everything: the bullying, the mysterious messages, and Miss Harper's confession. While the principal assured them the matter would be investigated thoroughly, Zoe couldn't shake the feeling that whoever was behind the messages wasn't finished. Over the next few weeks, things began to settle down. Miss Harper was put on leave, giving her time to reflect and seek help for her unresolved grief. She later met with Mia and Zoe again to apologize, this time with genuine remorse and a promise to make things right. For Mia, life at school slowly returned to normal. With Miss Harper gone, she felt lighter, more like herself again. Zoe stayed by her side, their friendship stronger than ever after everything they'd been through. But the mystery of the messages remained unsolved. The number never texted again, leaving Zoe with an unsettling sense of unfinished business. Yet, as she and Mia walked home one afternoon, laughing and talking about the future, Zoe decided something important. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The story ended with questions lingering, but one thing was clear: courage, friendship, and standing up for what's right could overcome even the darkest of days. And for Mia and Zoe, this was just the beginning of their next chapter.